Welcome to Destination Unlocked with me, Daniel Edward.
Just about ready to depart.
Please make sure your seatbelt is not fastened and do make yourself comfortable.
Destination Unlocked is the chatty travel podcast where a local expert helps you unlock their corner of the world. Today, we're looking ahead to the family travel trends of 2026 at exactly the moment when people start planning this year's big trips. My guest is Holly Axelrad, a luxury family travel planner who works with busy families, grandparents, and multi-generational groups. We're talking where families are booking, why people are travelling earlier than ever, and how trips are shifting away from those flying flops towards nature, adventure, and those shared experiences. If you're planning a family holiday, or maybe even your first one, this episode is full of smart, practical insight. So, Holly, what are you unlocking for us today?
Today, I am unlocking the family travel trends for 2026.
And this is super exciting because as we get to the end of the year, everybody is already starting to think about next year's big trips, and especially with the kids, because it comes back to Christmas time. Everybody's back at home again. The last time they were all back at home for a long period of time was holiday season and summer. So conversation, I think, does tend to start to veer towards warmer times and summer holidays already.
Yeah, definitely. We're seeing tying into families getting together at Christmas is multi-generational trips. So that's when grandparents are taking their children away and taking their grandchildren away. And whilst we've seen that on the increase, what I'm seeing for 2026 is actually, rather than being a celebratory trip or a milestone trip, these are becoming annual trips. So I've had lots of bookings for families ranging from kind of 7 people right up to 15 people all going away together. So they are booking that earlier just because of availability for such a big group.
Well, it's a convention at that point.
It takes quite a bit of planning, and I think that's where I come in to help with all the logistics.
Multi-generational trips are a wonderful thing, being able to bring families together away from any stress of one person having to host and cook and do all of these things, which I suppose Christmas is known for, that the burden's usually on one person who's always hosting. A holiday where everybody gets away and everybody can relax is really special. But you're noticing that it's the grandparents taking the lead.
Yes, it is. So it's actually the grandparents treating the rest of the family, but what they are doing is they're being very mindful of their children and the grandchildren. And whilst it's typically grandparents that are paying for these trips, it's actually then their children that I'm speaking to and discussing what they're looking for from the trip. So if they've got young children, are they looking for somewhere that possibly is all inclusive just to make it a bit easier? Or are there facilities for the children? So really, I'm speaking to a number of the family members to make sure it's exactly what they're looking for.
I love that delegation. They're like, I'll pay, but you're going to go do the research on this. And so you're helping people sort of work out destinations and styles of holidays that are going to work for everyone, because there's clearly such a different need for, let's call it a 65, 70-year-old grandparent and a 7-year-old child.
Absolutely. And I think it's everybody coming together on what they might be looking for. You may have grandparents that wouldn't typically go to the types of resorts that they're going to, but it's really about that special family time and all being together, and noticing that it's more short haul destinations and also going within the school holidays to cater for the grandchildren.
So what sort of destinations within that short haul category are looking really popular?
Greece is a big one. I think just because it's great throughout the year, it's not too far away, and there's a number of great family-friendly resorts.
And when we're talking family-friendly resorts, what does that really mean?
I think what works for families and what they're looking for family-friendly is that there are activities for the children, and that may not be a resort that has a huge water park within it. That's maybe not what they're looking for, but what they're definitely looking for is for these children's clubs that are engaging the children, and they're doing more. They're doing treasure hunts around the resort. They're getting the children on the beach. They're learning about the world and about the area they're in. So it's much more. And I think that that's definitely something that my clients are looking for. The all-inclusive model does work very easily because then there's no nasty surprises at the end of the trip. It's all catered for. And also, if you've got fussy eaters, it's great that you can go and pick and choose and don't have to worry too much. And typically, we're seeing that beaches are the most popular, but then also, depending on when you're going, if it's the half term, so the May half term, October half term, we're getting quite a lot of requests for heated pools to make sure that it really does cater for the children being able to enjoy themselves and swim. And then having that area for the adults only. So if the children are playing in the kids club or they've got younger ones in a crash, that the grandparents have somewhere that they can go, and the parents. So that might be the spa, or it might be an adults only pool. I think these often are factors that people are looking for. Also, any experiences that they can do together. So that might be a boat trip, or being able to, even though they are part of an all-inclusive, actually going to a local taverna and really experiencing, say, if it is Greek, that Greek culture and that brilliant Greek food that we all love.
And if somebody's doing this with a travel planner, they'll get an itinerary that plans all of that out for them based on their wish list.
Yes. So I typically work with families and busy professionals, and everyone knows that when you start to look for a holiday, it's all very fun. And then you research, and there are so many choices that then it becomes just too much, and it's very time consuming. So that's where I help my clients. I have a very detailed conversation with them if they're new clients, understanding again, what are they looking for, what's their vibe, how do they like to travel, and then essentially I'm matchmaking them. Some know the destination they want to go to, others don't. So it's about me being able to provide various destinations that I think would work for the time of year they're going, the budget that they have, and really their requirements. So then I'll put together a proposal and I'll share that with them, and that will include private experiences. So it could be boat trips, or going local experiences within the area, or visiting elephant sanctuaries. It really varies on the destination as to what I'm helping them to plan. And then once we've got that finalized, I then will book that for them, and then also I'll handle any concierge. That might be restaurant bookings, or especially if you've got larger groups, booking that, or any childcare needs, or if they're hiring cars, and making sure that there's child seats. All of those extras I'll help with. And I'm there in case anything goes wrong, just that extra safe pair of hands, because we know travel can sometimes be quite unpredictable.
Especially with kids.
Exactly. It's a joy, but it's also a challenge.
It sounds to me that this sort of service is more than what people expect of a travel agent. So they see a travel agent on the high street and they'll think, okay, somebody's going to book me a package holiday, and that's that. But this seems much more bespoke.
I think travel agents that do have a shop are brilliant because they have a client base who want to come in, they want to have that face-to-face interaction, collect their tickets in person. The clients that I work with, they're busy professionals. They really lack time. They love to travel, but they need a helping hand to put these trips together and be able to save them time.
Yeah, use the spare time that they have to actually go on the trip, not think about all of the logistics of going on the trip.
Exactly. There is a lot to think when you're traveling with children. Everything that you need in the rooms, transfers, other child seats, flight times. So I just really help my clients by looking into all of that for them, presenting the options, and then we choose the best ones for them.
In terms of trends, we always talk about trends looking ahead to the next year. And everybody says, yes, 2026 is going to be the year for this or the year for that. Are you then promoting that to your clients and therefore creating the trend? Or are you recognizing the trend because of what they've started to ask you individually, and then you realize, hang on, the whole group of people are asking me very similar things here, it's therefore a trend?
It's the latter. I have seen, especially with parents that have school children, they are booking and have booked so far in advance for next year for those school holidays. So May summer holiday, but most specifically the October half term. And I have booked that for so many of my clients. I suddenly thought this really is, people are booking a lot further ahead than they have in the past.
Why is this? People booking for October next year, that is 11 months away. Are people panicking that there isn't going to be enough space, or is it because there actually isn't enough space?
I think it's a bit of both. There are some destinations that I would always recommend that my clients are looking at, 10 to 12 months in advance, and they're typically your safari trips, going to Japan, definitely. And then also looking at trips like Lapland, Disneyland, ones that get booked up very quickly. But with this, it has been a mixture of those trips that you do need to book in advance. But also, I think because the October half term, in terms of the weather, and also some of the schools do get slightly longer, it's a very popular one. And I have noticed that even some resorts are fully booked now for October half term. So it's definitely worth getting there earlier.
Yeah, I would have thought with the October half term, that is the opportunity for parents with kids in schools which don't have the standard 1 week holiday at half term can actually get out of school holiday rates on resorts, which makes the holiday much more cost efficient.
Yes, I think it does. The prices do go up, especially the flights. And I would say that's typically if you are looking for your short haul trips. But if you're looking to go a little bit further afield, the Caribbean, Asia, your flights don't fluctuate as much as they do with Europe.
Okay, because I suppose those long haul trips are a bigger schlap for a family and therefore less likely to actually care whether it's school holidays at all anyway.
Yes, the short haul, they know that they've got the majority of, especially the UK, they're going to be traveling at that time. And they know that, especially with the schools being very strict on school holiday time and children taking their holidays, that specific week is when everyone's going to be going.
So for a moment, talking about adults looking to go away without kids, would we therefore say it's worth looking at long haul destinations within school holiday time and short haul outside of school holiday time if you are totally flexible about when you can travel?
Yes, I used to live in Asia, and so I'm very pro long haul trips, and I do think that you can definitely get better value for money on those flights. Of course, they're going to be more because you are going further, but they don't peak as much as some of the short haul flights, which can change thousands just for one day because it's the half term.
It's just such a crazy difference, isn't it? You mentioned earlier about safaris and some more exciting adventurous type holidays. And this is something which you've spotted as well as a bit of a trend, which I love what you've called it, a Toddventure. Families going away because the kids are getting adventurous.
Yes, and I think I've seen this and I've been booking this for 2026. And I think typically families in the past may have thought, let's wait until our children are a certain age. They won't remember it. We really want to get the most out of the trip. But I am seeing now the families that I'm booking on these trips, going to Thailand, island hopping, going to Cape Town and then going on to safari. They are younger. So we've got children that are under 5 traveling on these trips. And, I'm also a massive advocate. I took my children 5 and 2 and we went traveling around Indonesia in the summer, and my 2-year-old, she swam with turtles and now all she's talking about is turtles, so she's definitely remembering it and hasn't forgotten.
Yeah, that's true. And these are the formative years. One 100%. Experience can change a lot.
They're learning so much about different cultures, different foods. They're making friends with children from across the world and all playing together. I think it's really, really important. And it's great to see more families doing it.
I love The way children are able to play with each other when they can't talk to each other. It's something that adults, we just don't do it. If we can't communicate verbally, we sort of back away, we get nervous. Kids don't care, they'll play regardless.
Language isn't an issue for them. You know, if they're splashing in the pool, they're all having a great time, and it was great to see, and all the children together, and it was a real experience and something that I would definitely do again.
Given that it's something which is becoming more popular, getting the kids further away on something more exotic, more adventurous, is there something that parents or grandparents, if it's a multi-generational trip, should have in mind before that holiday starts to prepare the kids? Because it's going to be a very different experience for them from what they've had before.
Yes, it is. I think it's understanding where you're going to, like I say, with any families, preparing long haul flights and being prepared for those journeys. And then in destination, it's all about being prepared and planning. And that's where I really help my clients, is by putting together their bespoke itineraries, their drivers, their experiences. And I'm partnered with credible guides across the world, and they are really catered to families and understand that you're not going to be out for 8 hours at a time with a 4-year-old. It's about working what's going to be feasible for that family, because you don't want to add any stress to that experience. You want everyone to have an incredible time. And also, if you've got grandparents for these multi-gen trips, understanding how far are they able to walk? Is there something we should be mindful of? And this is really, whenever I'm working with any of my clients, is being really mindful of their specific family and how they travel and what extra help they need.
When you're looking at partners around the world and local guides, what makes a really good guide for kids to get the most out of a destination?
Fun guide, someone who breaks it down really simple. I think in South Africa, the rangers are just incredible. They engage the children. There's a footprint, there's a track. Let's have a look at it. Let's talk about what it could be. And then I know so many of the safari lodges, they have children's programs, and they will take the children out on walking safaris and give them their certificate at the end of the trip to be a junior ranger. So they make it fun. And I think when children are having fun, they learn so much more. So that's definitely, when I'm looking at the guide, yes, having exceptional knowledge about which destination they're in, but also, are they able to be flexible and adapt to the specific family?
So you mentioned earlier that you lived in Asia for a bit. Whereabouts was that?
I lived in Hong Kong for 7 years.
Wow. I assume you moved for work.
Yes, I did. My husband was working in Hong Kong, and I moved out there and was working in public relations for hospitality brands in Hong Kong.
And did that then fuel your passion for helping people see the world more?
My first real experience, I think, of travel was when I was probably about 7. My grandfather loved a multi-gen trip, and he took the whole family to Africa. And it was such an incredible experience. I can still remember so many details of it now, kind of, oh, wow, like 35 years on, that it's those moments that you create during travel that you remember forever. And I think living in Asia gave me the opportunity, with so many great places on my doorstep, like Japan, Korea, the Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, Sri Lanka, everywhere that's so close. I was able to travel and explore those different cultures. And yes, Asia has a special place in my heart. I was very fortunate. And I think also that was before we had children, so it's a little bit easier to do those trips, which can be a little trickier when you've got little people, when you're hopping across different islands and exploring the jungle. But having said that, these opportunities are still possible for families with children. It's just about going to the right areas. Like Langkawi in Malaysia is absolutely brilliant. You've got the beach, and then you've got the jungle. It's really family friendly. So there are different options. Also Japan, which is just one of my favorite places in the world. You've got the buzzing vastness of Tokyo, which is such a great walking city. So just getting out as a family and exploring and just walking around and visiting the gardens and then going on the bullet train to Kyoto, it's just incredible. It's a great part of the world. And the food, I'm a big foodie, so just the different type of cuisine, like Vietnamese food is very special. It's great.
Do you have any tips for encouraging kids to try the local food? I know some kids are very nervous to try things that they don't recognize.
They are. I think it's not forcing them to try, but just being open with them and encouraging to just try everything once. And if you don't like it, that's absolutely fine. Well done for trying. And I think it's great because you're surprised, and I see this with my own children, surprised how much they love. My son's absolute favorite is Vietnamese pho, which he had, and now he often asks for that. So I think it's also about being maybe a little bit more adventurous, cooking at home, and knowing that your children are open to trying different things. And so when you go on holiday, it's actually a bit easier to introduce these foods if they are having slightly different food or food that you're eating at home.
You've sort of primed a little bit of adventure into the palate. So you came home from Asia, back to the UK, and then you set yourself up as a luxury family travel planner. So do you want to talk to me about the business that you set up here whilst you did that?
Yes. So I worked for over 18 years in communications, working with absolutely beautiful properties across the world. And then when I came back from Asia, I decided that I had all this knowledge and that I wanted to share it. And I was being asked anyway by lots of friends and family to put itineraries together, especially if it was Asia, because I had all these, from experience and knowledge, these gems that you really want people, oh, don't go to that area because that's really touristy. Try this route, and that's when I set up. So I'm part of Artisan and really creating bespoke itineraries, and it's matchmaking my clients, and that could be a fly and flop. They just all want a break together, or it could be a family that really wants to do something different. They're adventurous, but they want to go and explore the jungle, Africa. They love snorkeling and diving. I had some clients and they went to the Maldives and they went with the marine biologists swimming with the whale sharks, which is just incredible. I think it's about giving that inspiration to clients, but also being responsible with where I'm recommending, and also those private experiences. All of our partners are we work with conservation programs. And so if we are doing any of these experiences, it's all sustainable and ethical.
And that is important. And I think people really care about that at this point.
Yes. And I think it's also for tourism and just being mindful of that, of where people are going. I think nowadays we're fueled by all the incredible pictures that we're seeing through social media. It's being careful not to damage these beautiful areas so that our future generations can still go on to enjoy them.
Absolutely. If somebody is listening and thinking this sounds exactly what my family needs, how can they find you and then contact you?
They can contact me through my website, which is hollyaxelrad.com. Also, I do have social media, which is Holly Axelrad Travels. They can contact me through there.
I want to dig into some of the top destinations that you've identified as being really popular coming up for 2026. I want to start with South Africa. We've mentioned a little bit about safari experiences so far. And are you finding that South Africa is the best one to start on if you've never done a safari before?
Yes, I think this is for families, but also anyone that's thinking about going on safari. I think a great one to do is to go to Cape Town. Cape Town first for 4 to 5 nights. If it is a family and they do have younger children, then South Africa's Eastern Cape is probably where I would recommend for families. They can either fly there, or they can go along the garden route, which is a great drive. Obviously, they can see the penguins in Cape Town. Then when they get to the Eastern Cape, they will be able to see the Big Five. Typically, a lot of the lodges there do have private game vehicles. And that is a requirement for families. If they've got children under 5, they will need to have a private vehicle to go out so that they feel at ease and also they're not disturbing any of the other guests.
That's really thoughtful, actually, because children do things at a totally different pace and are focused on totally different things from adults who have brought their very best diamond binoculars and all of these other things and don't want to put up with somebody else's children acting up at the weirdest moment.
Yeah, and also it's excitement. They are seeing incredible animals. And I think even as adults, it's kind of like, oh my goodness, wow. And then you have to realize, no, we're trying to be quiet, not disturb everybody else who's enjoying this experience. But yes, I think that combination's great. Also, it's malaria free, which is something that people need to think about when they're thinking about safari.
What about Thailand?
Thailand, absolutely great destination. I will say that because I do love Asia, but I just think the food is incredible. And also there's now the new route, which will go straight to Phuket, which makes it a lot easier for families traveling because at the moment it is a little trickier to get to Thailand.
And is that a much better option than going through to Bangkok for families?
I think Bangkok is great. And I think it's great for 3 to 4 nights, but it is extremely busy and there is a lot of traffic. But I think if families know that in advance and they're prepared for that, I think there's a lot to see. And I do like combining a city with a beach destination just because there's so much culture. But it depends on the children's age. And I do have some clients that are taking their 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds, and for them, they will be going to Phuket, but then actually they will be going to the islands from there. So you've got Koh Lanta, you've got Koh Yao Yai. They are brilliant because you're flying to one destination and then within a 30-minute boat journey, you're going to these more secluded islands and having a bit more of an authentic experience in Thailand.
And I think going on the boat is much more pleasurable than planes as well. There's something very exciting for kids to be on the sea and you can see more about what's going on around you.
Yeah, it's a really lovely option and you're getting away from the crowds.
Another place that you've identified as being really popular, people looking at for next year, is Costa Rica.
Costa Rica, I think this is a great destination because of the combination of you have got the jungle and seeing all of it's a different safari experience, the different animals that you're seeing. And then you can combine that with the beaches. So kind of there are incredible itineraries that we can put together for kind of 10 nights, which I think is a great option for families, and just depending on the different ages of what activities we would include there.
I think it's amazing. I remember going to Costa Rica and you just look up into the trees and you think you can see nothing, and then within a couple of seconds you realize, no, I can see a lot of things right now. And the animals are very well camouflaged to begin with, and once you've started spotting one, they all appear.
The canopies become alive.
Yeah.
And I think for children, again, you know, they're seeing these animals in the books, the bedtime stories, and to see them in real life for all of us and really reconnecting with nature is really special. And it is something you just remember forever. Lying on a beach is fantastic. And I have nothing, I love that. But it's when you do these experiences that you remember that day and that specific experience, and you'll find your children will also remember it, and it becomes a lifelong memory.
And I think something that's very important for kids is having that story to go back to school with.
Yeah, it's great. And my children they tried surfing in Bali and they absolutely loved it. And also they swam with turtles, as I mentioned, the Gili Islands. And they were swimming with their swimming instructor the other week. And this was back in August. And my son was just so excited to tell them that he swam with turtles and he was surfing. So it's something that they love to share, and it's different achievements. It's my son, he's not as academic in the classroom, but when he's outside, he's an adventurer. He wants to learn more. At the moment, he's so into whales. and he keeps asking, can we go and see whales? So I'm thinking about, he wants to go and see whale sharks, which is my dream as well. I'm a diver and I haven't seen them yet, and that would be my ultimate. So I love the fact that my children are getting involved with what they'd like to see from our holidays. I think that's really important for
That's
them to
amazing.
be part of that decision making.
Have to get to Kiribati.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure how family friendly it is as a destination, remote and tiny in the middle of nowhere, but you'll see the whale shark. Now, going away from the warm places for a minute, a lot of people would automatically assume families, kids, Lapland, but you're finding that Iceland is picking up.
Yeah, Lapland has been hugely popular, and I'm not saying it's not popular anymore, because it is still, and it is one that you have to book very far in advance, especially if you're looking to go anytime in December. Iceland is, I think people firstly think it's not possible with children. Again, it's working with the partners that we have on the ground and having those bespoke itineraries that really cater to children, and for them to see the spectacular sights of the landscape, being prepared, wrapping up warm, and letting them enjoy that. It's not always hot trips. We've seen a big rise in families booking the mountains of the Dolomites, and that's kind of in autumn time and winter, and they're not necessarily going to ski. It's more about them going to be again in nature, being around beautiful scenery and coming together as a family and going on family hikes, cycling, or if it is in the snow, shoe snowing. It's these experiences together that's really important. We are definitely seeing that from the bookings.
And I think that's so clear through the list that we've gone through so far of these top destinations that people are looking at. Nature just shines through, and it sort of shows how much people want to get back to the pure stuff in life. We're hassled by computers and technology all the time. Even the kids are. They learn through screens and computers now. And we need to get outside. We need to connect with nature and each other away from tech.
Yeah, I think it's so important. I think technology is brilliant and it has its place, but nothing beats not having a screen in front of you. You want to take the pictures, you want to take the videos of what you're seeing, but actually thinking, no, I want to enjoy this moment, looking at the world, looking at what I'm seeing without anything in front of me, and just taking it in and remembering this moment. And I don't think anything beats that feeling, especially when you're experiencing it all together.
Your final in the 5 that are really picking up for 2026 also surprised me, because I think of it as a honeymoon destination, but it's the Maldives.
The Maldives is absolutely incredible for families. There's hundreds, I think about 126, maybe more, different islands. And yes, some of them are much more adult focused, honeymoon focused, but then there's lots of other resorts which really cater for children, and what they're doing with their marine conservation and teaching the children. I was with the Manta Trust when I was out in the Maldives, and they are just incredible how they're teaching children all about the manta rays and understanding where they are and how we need to make sure we look after them. And then you can go out and swim with the manta rays, and understanding how you have to respect that you're in their home, but to be able to see them swimming around you with the marine biologists, and they're teaching you about the different markings so that you can identify the different manta rays. I think this is great for families because you've got direct flights from London. You can then either get to your resort by speedboat or seaplane, and then you've got these all-inclusive resorts. So everything's included, and their kids programs are just exceptional. So I think the Maldives is a really great one. And actually, I say to clients, the sweet spot for the Maldives, you've kind of got the peak season. So you've got the December, the January, the February. But then I think the beginning of the summer, kind of beginning of July, mid-July, just as the summer holidays are starting, that's a really great time when you're going to get good value for the Maldives. And the weather is still really, really nice. It's a tropical climate. So even in the dry season, it doesn't always play ball and you can sometimes get those rainy showers. But I think for families, it's definitely a great option when you're comparing kind of your short haul Europe trips and the price of that when you're looking at an all-inclusive in the Maldives. It's great value.
2026 could well be, and will be for many people, the very first time they go on a family holiday. They've got a new young family. Maybe the first year or so they thought, we're not going to do it. We're not going away yet. And now this year is the year they're going to say, yes, this year we're going away. It's going to be our first family holiday. What advice would you have for them?
Well, that's super exciting that they're going to be going on their first holiday. I love that. And I think travel is really important. And I would actually say to parents, don't be scared of travel earlier than that, because actually children sleep incredibly well on aeroplanes. So even from kind of 7 months onwards, that's a really great time to go on holiday. I think when you are going, to be mindful of how long your flight is. If you're feeling slightly nervous, then possibly go for a short haul like Spain, one of the islands like Majorca. I think that's a great option. And also considering, is it pram friendly? Is it easy for you to be able to walk around? And also, is the hotel able to cater for your needs? So when you have a little one, you do have a lot that you have to think about. You've got those nappies, so you can take your nappies, but if you're going to run out, is there somewhere to get more? Do they have facilities for sanitizing bottles? Do they offer cots? So it's really making sure that you're finding a family-friendly place to go that will make it easier for you, because there is a lot to think about when you have a little one, and it's quite different to when you've just traveled the two of you.
The wrap-up roundup quickfire finish is now ready for boarding.
We're going to wrap up with our quickfire round. So I've got 6 questions for you, all with family travel in mind. What would you say is the top thing that a family can either see or do on their holiday together?
Ooh, the top thing, I think animals in the wild.
What would you say is the top tourist trap to avoid?
I think with tourist traps, it's going where everyone else is going just because they're going. So when you're looking, if it's somewhere of interest to you and you think your family, then try and go as early as possible. But if you're just going to tick a box because other people are going, I would avoid that and find something that you're more interested in.
What's your favourite time of year to recommend for a family trip?
My favourite time of year would be Easter holidays, because that's a great time to go to Asia.
Is there a good book or film or series that as a family you could watch or enjoy together before going on a big exciting holiday that you'd recommend?
I think the thing that David Attenborough has filmed is just perfect for getting you excited. I think as a family, sitting down on a Sunday afternoon, watching his programs is ideal.
What is a top food or drink experience to try as a family?
Oh, gosh, so many. As a family, I think Thai food is really good, and I think that's a great one to get children started with. I think Japan, the food markets are very exciting to see the food cooking, but there's so much. The fresh fish that you get in Greece, I can't pick one. There's too many.
You're a foodie. We love it all over the world. A final question. I always ask people for their top authentic souvenir recommendation. With kids in mind, kids love collecting things as well. Is there something that you can prime your kids to look out for when they're traveling around to these various holidays that maybe creates a little collection for them over the years that will remind them of all the places that you've gone together as a family?
Something that I did, and I think this works really well, is to just take a black notebook for each child, and wherever you are, ask them to draw a picture or put down some words, what some food they had, and just draw that and put that in their journal, and then do that throughout their holidays. And I think that's really special because it's something that they've decided to include. So it's something special to them, and they're able to tell you why they did that and what it means to them.
That's such a beautiful idea. Well, Holly Axelrad, Luxury Family Travel Planner, thank you for unlocking the family travel trends of 2026 for us.
Thank you so much.
That's all for this episode of Destination Unlocked. A big thank you to Holly Axelrad for unpacking the family travel trends shaping 2026, from multi-generational trips and early booking habits to safaris, Iceland, and travel that's really about shared experiences. If this has sparked ideas for your next family holiday, you can find Holly at hollyaxelrad.com or via Holly Axelrad Travel on social media. And if you enjoyed the conversation, hit follow or subscribe so you can easily find your way back here next time. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you next time.